When you need mealtime inspiration, it's worth shopping Baker's, where you'll find over 30,000 mouth-watering choices that excite your inner foodie. And no matter what tasty choice you make, you'll enjoy our everyday low prices, plus extra ways to save, like digital coupons worth over $600 each week. You can also save up to $1 off per gallon at the pump with fuel points. More savings and more inspiring flavors make shopping Baker's worth it every time. Baker's, fresh for everyone. Fuel restrictions apply.
My dad works in B2B marketing. He came by my school for career day and said he was a big ROAS man. Then he told everyone how much he loved calculating his return on ad spend. My friends still laugh at me to this day.
Not everyone gets B2B, but with LinkedIn, you'll be able to reach people who do. Get a $100 credit on your next ad campaign. Go to linkedin.com/results to claim your credit. That's linkedin.com/results. Terms and conditions apply. LinkedIn, the place to be.
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. With the price of just about everything going up during inflation, we thought we'd bring our prices down. So to help us, we brought in a reverse auctioneer, which is apparently a thing.
Mint Mobile Unlimited Premium Wireless. How to get 30, 30, bit to get 30, bit to get 20, 20, 20, bit to get 20, 20, bit to get 15, 15, 15, 15, just $15 a month? Sold!
Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
$45 upfront payment equivalent to $15 per month. New customers on first 3-month plan only. Taxes and fees extra. Speed slower above 40 gigabytes. See detail.
When you think about what are the most powerful incentives that you could possibly think of, think about a vacation, because the thing is that it suits anyone, whether they're 20 or whether they're 80.
Welcome to the Millionaire University podcast. I'm your host, back in the saddle with you today, Brien Gearin. And on this edition of the podcast, we have one of the world's foremost direct response marketers, John Dwyer. He is the owner of the Institute of Wow. And John, JD for short, has been a leader in the direct response marketing and incentive marketing world for many years now. His ideas having been the catalyst for over 15 billion, that's with a B, 15 billion in sales for hundreds of businesses that he's worked with from big to small. And he has some pretty amazing accomplishments under his belt, including working with Jerry Seinfeld and Michael Jordan, just to name drop a few. But JD, welcome to the show. It's a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you, Brian. That's a big rap. I wish I could live up to that rap.
Well, I cut you down a little bit because before the show, you said, how about the foremost direct response marketer in the universe? And I said, no. I'm going to hold you to the world. Don't worry about it. I can't get you getting too big of a head here. Well, today we're going to explore everything we can about direct response marketing and your client attraction system that has yielded the aforementioned results for clients around the world. John, I don't know about you, but I think there is so much about direct response that many people or business owners just don't know, don't understand, or don't view as valuable. So we're going to explore everything about that today and how you've harnessed it to grow so many businesses and how our listeners could do the same with theirs. So I'm going to start right at the top. JD, what is direct response marketing?
Gotcha, Brian. I'm still basking in all of those superlatives, all those wonderful, wonderful pats on the back. Yeah, look, direct response marketing, Brian, gets a bad rap from a lot of people in the sense that they think that it is brand destroying, or they think it is one of those corny, TV infomercials on morning TV. And look, some direct response marketing is that, the George Foreman barbecue and all of that stuff that you see on morning television over the years. But it doesn't have to be corny. You and I were talking before we pressed the button on this interview, and I was just saying that, a lot of people do relegate direct response marketing to those corny TV commercials, and it doesn't need to be that at all. Basically, what direct response marketing is, taking people's eyes away from the price of the product, providing people with a value add normally, and making sure that whatever the offer is, it's time sensitive so that people will get off the fence. The last thing you want is to spend a lot of time with people and then, of course, they just sit on the fence forever. You want to get a direct response. And the best way to do that is to make a very, very good offer with a time limitation.
Exactly. So the time limited offer. So I want to dive into that a little bit, because so much of what I do, you and I are both marketers, and a lot of what I do with my clients is offer creation. So what is it? And I notice so many businesses who don't seem to understand the importance of an offer, or they have offers, but they're just lame, right? They don't inspire action. They don't kick me off the fence to come be a patron of their business or buy from them. What is it about an offer that makes it different from everybody else?
Yeah, Brian, look, there's probably 5 components to direct response marketing. And number 1 is to identify your prospect's problem. Number 2 is to aggravate that problem. And number 3 is to provide the solution. And number 4 is to provide proof. In other words, that's normally testimonials, people saying, look, I used that equipment or I used that particular service and, it's fantastic. And then number 5, what you and I know as an acronym, CTA, a call to action. And the best way to do that would probably be to give you an example of a weight loss company. They would be on social media or television, and they would say, listen, are you overweight at the moment and not feeling good about yourself? So that's the problem. Then they would aggravate the problem by saying, look, summer's just around the corner. Don't you want to look good in your swimsuit? So that they aggravate the problem. And then number 3, they provide the solution. Come on the ABC weight loss program and you could look like a supermodel within, 12 weeks or whatever it may be. And that's when the before and after photos come in. And then, of course, number 4, provide proof. And that would be a bunch of people saying, I lost weight because I came onto the program. And then, of course, number 5, the CTA, call to action. And that would be, go to weightloss.com and, book into the program. It's essentially problem solution marketing. Give them their problem and provide a solution.
Right. And then I like that term you used in the middle there, agitate the problem, right?
Yeah, exactly.
It's one thing to list the problems or the pain points that your target market is having, but what do we mean by, and I think did you say agitate or you use another synonym there, but aggravate. Yeah, okay. So what do we mean when we say to aggravate the pain point?
Well, if you spoke to my wife, she'd tell you just hang around me that I'm enough aggravation as it is. Yeah, it's basically saying the message you're trying to get across, I should say, is that if they don't do something about it, it's just going to get worse and worse and worse. And so therefore, if someone was, for argument's sake, had a skin rash and you had the solution to that because of the magic cream that you have, you would say to them, look, have you got a skin rash? And of course, the answer is yes. And then you would aggravate that problem by saying, listen, do you realize if you don't treat that, it will definitely get worse and worse and worse and worse. It's just a matter of highlighting to them how dark the future might look if they don't buy your product or service.
Right. And then that plays into the consumer psychology of, oh my gosh, I've got this problem. I've probably been ignoring it. I've landed on this ad or this advertiser, this business has found me. Now they're pointing out to me what the detrimental effects will be if I don't do something. Oh, and look, these guys happen to have a possible solution for me.
And you know what, Brian, you're spot on, but I fall for it every time. You'd think that being in this game, since the 1800s, like I have, that I wouldn't fall for this stuff. But we had grass bugs, and don't ask me what they are. I've got no idea, but they get into your grass and they eat the grass. And so therefore your front lawn and your back lawn look pretty awful within a few weeks because these dirty little grubs turn the green grass into brown grass. And the guy that came out, he said to me, you got a problem? I said, oh, look, surprise me. Of course I've got a problem. The front yard is brown. And he said, yeah, okay, well, you do realise that if you don't do something like within the next 48 hours, then it will destroy your entire grass, He went down the whole aggravation path. And I thought to myself, you're brilliant. You're just fantastic. I booked him straight away.
Yeah.
And to his credit, our grass ended up coming green again within a very short period of time. But he probably even unwittingly, I don't think he actually realised what he was doing, but unwittingly, he was aggravating my problem so that I'd get him booked really fast.
And I think a lot of times this can get misconstrued, or even from advertisers, marketers, or business owners who use this maybe against their prospects because they use it as a scare tactic, whereas in an honest business that's providing a solution to a problem, you're really just telling them, hey, I have this service or this product that can help you with this problem, which, by the way, if you do not fix, this is what will happen. So maybe that has something to do with how some folks may view direct response marketing as a negative tactic, when in reality, it's really just telling people you have the solution.
Yeah, it is, absolutely. And there's a formula to it, as we've just run through, like there is a formula to most things in life. But really, when it's all said and done, it comes down to highlighting to your target audience what their problem is and how you can fix that problem normally quickly. It's not always quickly, but normally is how you can be David Copperfield.
Yeah, absolutely. So I want to talk about the types of businesses that this can work for. So question number 1, can direct response marketing, is this industry wide? Can anybody use this? Any business?
Yeah, the only business I've come across that I've hesitated in providing direct response tactics to funeral parlours. I felt that might be a little distasteful. Let us burn your relatives this week and you will get, I don't know,
Yeah.
a free something.
Buy one casket, get one free.
Yes, that's right. It's funny. I did have a funeral parlour on one occasion, Brien, as a client. You wouldn't believe it. And of all places they were in Santa Monica in the west coast of America. And the guy who I was dealing with was rather bland. And so, with my cheeky Aussie sense of humour, I don't think we really got on. And I said to him, had he ever been to Australia? And he said, yes, I have. And I said, do you realise that the big supermarket chains in Australia have a reward system called flybys? And in other words, you collect points and you use them against like Qantas aeroplane, sort of trips, and they're called flybys. And he said, yeah, I saw that when I was down under. I said, well, look, the idea I've got for you for your funeral business is a reward program, but we call it die-bys, right? And he said, he looked at me. I was not serious. I was messing around. He goes, what? I said, well, it's a die-by program, and that is every time you burn somebody's relative, they get points, and they save those points up for free headstones for the rest of the family. And he eventually worked out that I was taking the you-know-what out of him. But, yeah, so that would be probably the industry I wouldn't do a lot of direct response with, because it's very difficult to get people to die by a certain time, But with every other industry, Brian, this has just turned bad, hasn't it?
You got me going.
At this moment, I can see the thought bubble above Brian's head going, why did we even do this one? This is ridiculous. But outside of that, look, every industry is open to doing direct response marketing. There's not an industry out there outside of that one that I would not be able to come up with a direct response campaign.
Okay, so let's get a little granular here. So in my business, and I'm very familiar with home service companies, right? So they're local businesses that provide any sort of home service you can think of, whether it's plumbing, HVAC, electrical, driveways, roofing, you name it, power washing, any of that. To me, this seems like one of the type of industry areas that, amongst many, are very good for direct response marketing. Yet, even just my local area, I do not see a lot of companies, I can't even think of one off the top of my head, where I could be like, that's a great direct response advertisement or attempt at getting my business. What does it look like with the companies you've worked with in the past? And you can pick a different vertical. That was just the one off the top of my head. But what mediums, what channels, what do these ads actually look like in practice for a hands-on business?
Yeah, look, and I guess what you're saying there, Brian, is a lot of the industries that you've dealt with in your digital marketing business, particularly around your area, are more tradesman-based. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, look, really at the end of the day, if they are a localized business, of course, Facebook's going to help them. You know that better than anyone. But, a lot of people think that letterbox brochures are dead. They're not. I mean, the thing is that still the big supermarket chains are putting things in your letterbox. And look, it isn't what it used to be. But by the same token, if I was a business that really the target audience was within a number of miles where my business is, then I'd still be doing letterbox drops, I'll tell you. What they should be doing is thinking, okay, well, in my instance, let's just say it happens to be a lawn mowing service or landscaping service. I've never come across one yet, and we've lived on acreage quite a few times. I've never come across one, and so therefore we've used a lot of, landscaping companies and lawn mowers. They've never, ever provided me with a reward program which says, listen, every time we come and mow your lawn or do the garden, you will get a point. And when you save 5 points, I will give you 2 movie tickets. And they will be to the luxury, whatever it is, the special gold class lounge where you actually can sit back on the chair and enjoy a wine. None of them have ever said to me, look, if you actually spend X dollars with me, I will give you a dining voucher to go to one of the local restaurants. And none of them have ever had any time sensitivity to well, first of all, they've never had an offer. So therefore, I mean, I've got 6 children and they've grown up now, they're adults, but we've always had a swimming pool. And we've never had any swimming pool company ever offer me the opportunity that if you actually get your pool cleaned by me once every fortnight throughout summer, once you actually get it cleaned 5 times, I will give you a bonus. I will give you a gift. Just doesn't happen. It's not part of their mentality. And yet if someone did that, they would stand out from the crowd and instantly, because guess what everyone else is doing? Price discounting.
Right. Exactly. And this kind of bridges into one of my next questions is incentive-based marketing or incentive, like in this case, incentivizing your customers, whether they're current or prospects. And I think you're right. Like that type of thing Rarely. I mean, I haven't seen it. It hasn't been presented to me in using local service businesses as an example. But, for example, using the lawn company as an example, the last 3 years I've switched lawn companies because now I'm a stickler. I love my lawn and it's the finest thing about my home, but it's got to be the right type of company that's going to come and service it and do it well and do it up to my standards. This year, I think I found the company, but none of these companies have ever done anything that goes beyond giving me a price, giving me an initial discount, and then saying we'll be here on our schedule. However, had any of them provided some sort of incentive or like a loyalty program, like you mentioned, I would instantly be a buyer. Like there would have to be some other massive red flags to keep me away from them.
Yeah, dead right. Probably a good example would be a cleaning company. And, again, having 6 kids under 12 at one stage, many years ago, but nonetheless 6 children under 12, we used a cleaning company to come in every week or fortnight, whenever it was. And they never wore a uniform. And the reason I'm probably going to bitch about this, Brien, is that my business is, called the Institute of Wow.com. So it's all about wow factor stuff. And they'd come in their tracksuit, gear, and they would just, look like they got out of bed, and they're coming in to clean your house. So I just wanted to give them a ticket to Disneyland and say, go and have a look at how things should work, all right? Have a look at the uniforms, just have a look at the way that they wow you the moment you come into the park. And I'm sure I speak from most other people who have ever employed a cleaning company. They've probably seen the same thing. That's number one. And number two, at no time did any of them say to us, listen, once you've had us in 5 times, then the 6th one is for free. Or once you've had us in for 5 times, you're going to have a movie voucher to take the kids to the movie. It's never it's just not they don't think about, well, how I can stimulate more business by creating a value add. There's a company in Melbourne, Australia, and it's an exclusive restaurant. It's called the Lobster Cave. And what happened there, Brien, I just convinced the owner of the business when they came onto one of my programs. I said to them, how much are you spending on advertising? And they said, on radio and Facebook, around about $500,000 a year. Now, this is an expensive restaurant. And I said, okay, well, how about we save you all that money? And what we will do is we'll collect data. And this guy said to me, his name's Bill. He said, what do you mean? I said, well, we'll give your waitresses 50 cents for every name and contact detail they get at the end of the meal. This was quite separate from tips, okay? And so at the end of the meal, the waitress would come out and she'd put in front of, or he or she would put in front of the 4 people at the table, just a little bit of paper with, it says, it's an entry form. It says, win dinner for 10 of your friends at the end of the month. We just want your name and your email and your phone number. Now, the phone number is the main thing because we know the open rates of emails. Every afternoon, he's got a 150-seat restaurant, and I visited him on one occasion. He said to me, let me show you how your thing is working. And he calls his long-suffering secretary in, and she comes in with a little tablet in her hands, and he says, look, tell JD how many seats we've got full tonight. She said, 70 of the 150. He said, I will send out JD's text message number 4, because I gave him about a dozen text messages. And that would be, Chef Pierre would like to invite you and your wife tonight to our restaurant for a special lobster tail meal for 2. It's only $68. Now, no one leaves this restaurant for less than $200. A bottle of water is like $25, right? And so, therefore, she walks in 10 minutes later and says, remember, 10 minutes earlier, they only had 70 seats of the 150 full. She walks in 10 minutes later because she sent out to 1,000 people this invitation, and she said, we're booked out, we're full. And that was because on a direct response basis, he firstly collected the data, and then every afternoon at 2:30 fills his restaurant that night by sending out X number of text messages with a special deal. That's direct response marketing. And he's the only restaurant in the world that's full 365 nights a year, never an empty seat. Not one night of the year does he have an empty seat, because if he still has 20 empty seats after she sent out the first text message, she just goes and sends another 100 text messages and she fills the next 10 seats.
Let's talk real estate, Millionaire University. We all know the mantra, buy low, sell high. Sounds simple, right? But timing the market is not always easy. Here's where things get a little interesting. Fundrise, our sponsor, sees the current high interest rate environment as an opportunity. Their flagship fund is gearing up to expand its billion-dollar real estate portfolio. Now, I'm not a real estate guru, but I know a potentially smart move when I see one. Fundrise is making it possible for you to add their flagship fund to your portfolio with as little as $10. Want to explore this potential wealth-building avenue? Visit fundrise.com/MU. That's fundrise.com/MU. Diversification is key. Adding real estate to your portfolio could be a step towards that millionaire-minded approach we're always talking about. Remember, every millionaire journey starts with informed decisions. Do your research and see if Fundrise aligns with your wealth-building strategy. Carefully consider the investment objectives, risks, charges, and expenses of the Fundrise flagship fund before investing. This and other information can be found in the fund's prospectus at fundrise.com/flagship. This is a paid advertisement.
You know that's the sound of another sale on your online Shopify store. But did you know Shopify powers selling in person too? With Shopify, you get a powerhouse selling partner that effortlessly unites your in-person and online sales into one source of truth. Track every sale across your business in one place and know exactly what's in stock. Get hardware that fits your business. Take payments by smartphone. Transform your tablet into a point-of-sale system, or use Shopify's POS Go mobile device for a battle-tested solution. Plus, Shopify's award-winning help is there to support your success every step of the way. Take customers from picking it out to picking it up. Shopify syncs in-store inventory with Google, so when local customers search for that thing they want that you have, bam, you're there. Demand meets supply. Sign up for a $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/MU, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/MU to take your retail business to the next level today. Shopify.com/MU.
Wow, I love that. That is the quintessential example for direct response, because you are sending out a message, an offer directly, and it's receiving a direct response, right? I sound like an idiot there, but it's so simple, yet people don't think about it. And it just makes total sense.
No. Well, Brien, can I ask you, have you ever been in a restaurant where they've asked you for your contact details?
No, never. Not unless they somehow collect it at a point of sale system, which now that I think about it, I don't, except for a couple restaurants where I have like loyalty program points, which they've done through an app. I haven't even entered my email. It's just a phone number.
Yeah, and you know what? When I bring that up, if I'm speaking at a restaurant convention, I will say to the 100 people in the room, look, you all own cafes and restaurants. I'm going to give you an idea now, which I can almost guarantee will double your business. That particular guy's business went from 2.4 to 5.2 million in 1 year. We're talking
Wow.
2.4 to 5. And all it was is that we filled empty seats, because up until then, he was like an airplane flying around with 40% of the seats, empty. He would just simply make sure that every afternoon at 2:30, his PA would send out this text message, and they would just fill the restaurant every single night. Now, the average sale in that restaurant was $204 a couple. So he said, come in for the lobster tail meal for two for $68 or what have you. But when they're there, of course, the upsell, they walk away $204, out of their wallet.
Right. And it's giving a much lower offer, lower compared to the average price that people will spend. But back to consumer psychology, if you have a coupon, to come in and get something for free or something at a discounted rate, there's a great chance where your mind's like, well, I didn't pay, I barely paid to get in. I'm going to buy this. I'm going to buy that. I'm going to buy this. We're going to eat this. We're going to get the apps. We're going to get desserts. We're going to get it all. Little do you know, now your bill's back to $204, right?
Yep. And Brien, look, whoever's watching this, don't feel bad if you don't collect data. Well, no, you should feel bad, actually.
Always collect data, yes.
Yeah. And, because you do what you do and I do what I do, of course, we're into collecting everything we possibly can, even their mother's maiden name and their blood group if we can get it. But it's just amazing that Amazon have taught us the way, but hardly anyone is following Amazon. When I say hardly anyone in the small to medium business sector. And really, do yourself a favor, make sure that you collect data, because, I know it's a well-worn phrase, but data is king. Once you've got that, you can use that to your advantage forever.
Absolutely. And you mentioned, even going back to this example, how they were spending $500,000 in various forms of advertising. You said, save it all. I've got this very simple idea that's going to fill your seats without. So not only did you bump their revenue by $2.5 million, you save them $500,000 by saying you don't need all this other stuff that everybody else does that you probably think you need to do just to keep up or just because everybody else is doing it. And it's simply not the case.
No, you got it. And Brien, I highlight to people, even McDonald's don't collect data. And the younger community will say to me, oh, JD, now you're stretching it. They have got an app. And when you go onto the app, I said, no. Anyone over, let's say 45 or 50, and there's a few of them that go to McDonald's because they've grown up in an era where they're probably not as health conscious. Okay, so they are probably regular visitors to McDonald's. They're not going to go on the app. They just aren't. Whereas if McDonald's did have, when they actually gave you your food in that little brown paper bag or whatever, the opportunity for you to fill a form in, then they would be collecting a lot of very valuable data. And it's just amazing how many people do not collect data, and yet that is the money tree.
Right, exactly. And for so many businesses who aren't, McDonald's or Starbucks or Chick-fil-A, who have an app developed and who have millions of customers, it's basically taking that concept but bringing it to your smaller business where you're still going to get that data. You're just not going to upload it into some fancy app that costs $500,000 to build. It's going to be a little bit more manual, but when I say manual, we're still using text message and SMS. We're filling your seats or filling your service window or getting more people signed up for, AC tune-ups, whatever it might be. You just got to do it.
It doesn't have to be a pen and paper. It can be, as you said, an SMS. And look, apps are great. Don't get me wrong. Of course they are. But there's a certain age group that aren't as comfortable with that as the younger folk, I have to tell you this one, Brien, in the spirit of me completely showing off and being ridiculously boastful. I reckon the best example of the data that I always roll out is I was doing a seminar at one occasion, and at the end of the seminar, this particular guy said to me, listen, I own an aluminum fence company. And I said, oh, okay. And he said, basically, we replaced the old fences in people's backyards, the paling fences that are falling over. I said, good. He said, but Facebook's not working for me. And I said, well, let me have a look at your ad. And when I looked at his ad, he'd fallen into the trap of highlighting features, not benefits. So his ad had a picture of an aluminum fence. And I said to him, oh, okay, well, if Jenny Craig weight loss program used the same philosophy as you, all of her ads would just show a bowl of rice because that's what you have to eat if you want to lose weight, all right? Just one bowl a day. And he said, what do you mean? I said, look, you're showing the aluminum fence, but really that's the feature. You want to show the benefit. And he goes, right, okay. I said, you want to get out of the way? So he did. He got out of the way. And so what we did is that we held the ugliest back fence in Australia contest and on Facebook. And so we targeted the ads to all of the suburbs that had a very old demographic. The homes were 30 years old. And we invited them to enter the ugliest back fence in Australia contest because we knew their back fence was an old paling wood fence. It was probably falling over. Guess what? They had to take a photo of the fence and post it. So not only did the entrants put their hand up and glow in the dark and say, I want a new aluminum fence, but they gave you a photo of their old one. You don't get a much hotter lead than that. 3 days, $702 spent on Facebook, and in 3 days he had 6 months worth of leads. He contacted us and said, turn the campaign off. We can't keep up with the lead. We've got enough leads to keep us going for 6 months. And the reason I bring that up, Brien, is that we do that for kitchen renovators as well. The ugliest kitchen in Australia, or you can make it the ugliest kitchen in California, whatever it might be. They take a photo of the ugly kitchen as part of the entry mechanism. You don't just get their name and their contact details. You get a photo of their crappy kitchen. And you can do that for any business. It doesn't matter what business you're in. And that is what we call, in our instance, we've just given it a name, the Facebook contest formula. But start using tactics that have got avalanche responses, not responses of onesies and twosies.
Right. And what really is hitting home for me is how outside the box direct response marketing can be, or maybe seems like it. I think from a 10,000 foot view, I'm like, oh, that sounds obvious. Why wouldn't we do that? But it just doesn't get thought of, right? Or maybe people think like, oh, if it's too good to be true, then nobody's going to respond to it. But even like in your example with the fence, and we can talk about the types of incentives you use there, but it's more fun. Like that's kind of gamifying it. Like, oh my gosh, like my fence is falling over and my neighbors are mad about it all the time. This is going to be hilarious. I'm going to take a picture and maybe I'm going to win this type of fence. Yeah. Or if the offer on that one you said was win a free fence, and there's many different incentives you can use there, I'm sure. But that makes it fun, right? Now somebody's like, oh, this company's being, as you like to say, cheeky. Like they're making this interesting. So I think that's a really incredible way to gain attention, and clearly it worked.
Yeah. And Brien, it wouldn't matter what the product is. It could be a back massager. It could be any product at all. Hold a contest on social media. I just said Facebook. It can be Instagram. It can be anything. Okay. So the thing is, hold a contest to give away your product or service, because you must know that whoever enters that contest is interested in your product or service. If I'm not interested, then I'm not going to enter the contest to win it. Even if I win it, I don't want it. Whereas everyone who enters that contest for your widget or for your service, I mean, for example, even if it were from a lawn mowing company and they said, you can win a month's worth of lawn mowing services from us, then you know those people are interested in someone coming to mow their lawn. You give one away, but you've got 999 other people who enter the contest who have glowed in the dark.
Right, absolutely. And they wouldn't have raised their hands if they didn't actually need what you're offering. They happen to need it and they're interested in your offer.
Yeah, if they're living in an apartment, I don't think they'd be entering the contest.
Right, exactly. They would be able to self-eliminate based on the type of offer and based on the type of service.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it. So we talked about the types of incentives that you can use. So I kind of want to get into that because I don't know if I label it correctly when I say incentive-based marketing or if you've got a much cooler name for it. But what is it about the types of incentives that sets you apart? Because I don't know about you, but at least here in USA, it's like 10% off your first order. And I'm talking like this could be e-com, this could be a physical type of like service business, whatever it is. It's always this really basic, boring offer. But what about incentives changes the game or changed it for you and your clients?
Brien, how the free vacation idea came about is, in my view, being the number one incentive is because of a client I had down under some years ago, which was a bank. And this bank wanted to sell more home loans. And as it turned out, they were in the price discount game big time by just simply coming on television and social media saying, get a home loan from this particular bank and you will get 6.4%. And of course, the Wells Fargo big banks down the road would just be 6.1%. And it was a race to the bottom. And there's no way that a smaller bank, and this was a smaller one, I mean, it was the 250th biggest business in Australia, but it was small compared to the big Wells Fargo style banks. They're not going to win that. It'd be like a little corner shop trying to take on Costco. They're not going to win, all right? And so I said to them, look, why don't you just simply look at doing direct response marketing and have a value add? When people get a home loan from you, they get something. And they said, okay, smart Alec, what would that be? And I was doing some TV commercials for a travel discount company at the time, so I introduced them. And what we did is we came on television and social media and we said, get a home loan from the Greater Building Society, because that's who this was, and you get a free vacation. It went nuts. We're talking like they took an extra $15 billion worth of home loans in the first few years. And this idiot who you're talking to, Brien, didn't take a percentage.
Oh, no.
I wish I could have taken a percentage of the increase in home loans because I would have probably bought my own private island. This thing went absolutely nuts. And why did it go nuts is because everybody is interested in getting a free vacation. I mean, who doesn't want a free vacation? And depending upon the size of the home loan, obviously you got certain points. And if you had $1 million loan, then you could go around the world. If you had a $500,000 loan, you might have gone to Hawaii. So that's how it worked. It was very fair. It was based on the value of the loan. And about 4 or 5 years into this promotion, then I got Jerry Seinfeld, but I should have warned you a name drop, but I got Jerry Seinfeld.
I wanted to make sure we talked about that before the end because I want to hear the story. He's my all-time favorite comedian, so you've got me hooked.
Is he really? Oh, okay.
Yep.
Gotcha. Yeah, so anyway, what happened is that we had scooped up what we thought was the low-lying fruit after 4 years of get a home loan, get a free vacation. And I mean, we call it holiday in Australia. You guys call it vacation, but get a home loan, get a free holiday. But basically, it's get a vacation. And about 4 years in, we decided to take it to another level and look for a way to, if you like, just reboot the campaign in even a bigger way. And so we decided to look for a celebrity. And as it turned out, I won't bore you with the details, but it took me about 6 months to get him. But eventually, because I think I said to him, but eventually I went to New York to do all the TV commercials with him. Why did you say yes? And he said, well, firstly, because you asked me to be pretty cheeky and take the mickey out of banks. And he said, I take the mickey for a living. So that was a perfect match. And he said, secondly, you're the most annoying person I've ever met in my life. I figured that if I didn't say yes, you'd never go away. I said to him, well, Jerry, persistence beats intelligence, fortunately for me. So anyway, yeah, he said yes. And I flew backwards and forwards for 3 years to New York and we did the TV commercials with Jerry Seinfeld. And if you have Jerry Seinfeld coming on your TV of a night time and on social media saying get a home loan from this bank and you get a free vacation, you can imagine it took an already existing very successful campaign to the stratosphere. It just went nuts.
All right, so JD, we're talking about Jerry Seinfeld and the commercial that you did with him. I think we might have a treat and be able to play that on our video here and then the audio for our listeners. What do you say?
Yeah, sure. The TV commercial we shot in a little town called Cedarhurst, just out of New York, which was close to where Jerry lived in the Hamptons. And we just filled an empty shop with a Greater Building Society signage. And Jerry stood outside the shop and pretended to be doing stand-up. And here's the commercial.
I'd like to talk to you about a home loan. Not for me, for you. I have a home.
Get a Getaways home loan from the Greater. It could be the most fun financial decision you'll ever make. Just ask a Greater customer.
When we shopped around for a home loan, we found the Greater had one of the lowest interest rates.
And a free holiday with over 200 choices, and there were no catches.
Get a Getaways home loan and go on a free holiday. Or loan us some money and we'll go on a holiday. Either way, someone's getting out of here.
And also we have a fun little clip that you mentioned where Jerry gives you a little bit of an insult. So we're going to play that one too, because it's pretty funny.
Yeah, and how that came about, Brian, was that when I'm on the road doing TV commercials with just general, homeowners, this is for the bank, I would always say to the husband and wife at the end that I'd like to say they were the best performers in every TV commercial that we've done. And of course, they'd say, thank you very much. I go, no. I said, I'd like to say that I can't. And so the camera crew who hate me because they think that's cruel decided to get Jerry to do the same thing to me.
All right, I love it. Let's roll it.
JD, I just want to say that, you are the most professional, most competent, just best to work with marketing person I've ever worked with.
Thank you, Joe. Thank you.
I'd like to say that.
Yeah, so therefore that's really how, when you think about, what are the most powerful incentives that you could possibly think of? Yeah, think about a vacation, because the thing is that it suits anyone, whether they're 20 or whether they're 80.
When you need mealtime inspiration, it's worth shopping Baker's, where you'll find over 30,000 mouth-watering choices that excite your inner foodie. And no matter what tasty choice you make, you'll enjoy our everyday low prices, plus extra ways to save, like digital coupons worth over $600 each week. You can also save up to $1 off per gallon at the pump with fuel points. More savings and more inspiring flavors make shopping Baker's worth it every time. Baker's, fresh for everyone. Fuel restrictions apply.
This episode is brought to you by Microsoft Azure. Turn your ideas into reality with an Azure free account. Get everything you need to develop apps across cloud and hybrid environments, scale workloads, create cloud-connected mobile experiences, and so much more. Discover what you can create with popular services free for 12 months. Learn more at azure.com. That's AZURE.com. And sign up for a free account to start building in the cloud today.
That's perfect. So I think that is an awesome incentive to use. Obviously, like you said, who couldn't use a free vacation? But also, I think this idea of incentive, whether it's marketing or client retention, it sounds like it can be used for both, because especially in the case of the bank and with Jerry Seinfeld, putting that on blast will bring in tons of new prospects. But as a business owner, maybe you're not a bank, maybe you're more of a smaller local type of business or service provider or an online seller. Having these types of incentives to use towards retention of your clients, does that apply just the same as bringing them in as prospects?
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess what I should say, Brian, at this point is that some years after I left doing the consultancy for this bank, international travel company contacted me, and they, when you've got Seinfeld doing your TV ads, it's pretty hard to keep that quiet. So therefore, it became folklore in the finance industry, and a lot of people have contacted me since to say, look, how did that all happen, and what can you do for me that looks like that? And this international travel company said to me, look, we've got access to unsold hotel rooms right around the world. Vegas, Orlando, New York, Cancun, Mexico, London, Paris, Spain. And I said, yeah, go on. And they said, we've seen what you've done in terms of being able to market a free vacation. How about we join forces and we offer this as a promotional vehicle to smaller businesses? And so, Brian, what I'm saying is that these days what we do for smaller businesses is we provide them with that free vacation concept for, it doesn't matter whether they're a butcher, baker, candlestick maker. We are basically giving them a voucher which gives them 3 to 7 nights vacation anywhere in the world, right throughout America as well. And that is valued up to about $1,000, and they get it from us for less than $50. And the reason is that these hotels, mostly 4-star, are very happy to give up unsold rooms. Outside of school vacation periods, they don't have unsold rooms at Christmas and Easter, of course, but outside school vacation periods, most of your resorts and hotels are running at 70% occupancy. So they've got about a third of their rooms vacant. They're more than happy to give that up under the radar to people to stay there for free, on the expectation or the hope that people will spend money on food and beverage. So that's how it works. And so therefore we make that available now to businesses where they get a chunk of these vacation vouchers and they hand them out when someone uses their lawn mowing service or someone buys their refrigerator or whatever it is that they sell. And they provide that as what I call a Happy Meal toy to distract people from the price. And so the reason I bring that up at this point, because I thought it'd be best to explain to you how it worked for the bank and how now that particular promotion can work just about for any business, because they're picking up $1,000 voucher for less than $50.
Yeah. So John, what is it in your experience? Why, it's one of those things where the old adage, if it was easy, everyone would do it. Well, this seems pretty darn easy. Do you find that there's reasons why business owners elect not to do this? Or is it just simply, we don't know what we don't know? What have you found with that?
Look, my view is, and Brian, you're in the same game of marketing, but because I've got a few more wrinkles than you, I've probably done more seminars. I've presented at conventions and seminars and all those sorts of things, and met a lot of people who own small businesses. And my view is that when they went to university or college, they learned how to be an expert at their trade. So they become a very good technician, whether that's a doctor or dentist or whether it's a builder or concreter. It wouldn't matter what business they're in, they've learned to be a very good technician of that business. But when you ask them at any stage when you became a dentist, did you learn at college how to attract customers? The answer is no. They learned how to be a good dentist, a good technician. And I think that's the reason, is that people go into business because they're very skilled at whatever they decided to go into, but no one has ever taught them marketing. And so therefore it becomes one of those things that's not even on their radar. And when I do preach this sort of marketing to small to medium-sized businesses, you can see their jaw drop because they can see they've been missing out on a lot of opportunity because they've never been looking at marketing this way.
And it plays right into, especially these days on the digital side, but even if it's maybe you're a more manual operation, everything with this is still incredibly trackable, right? You know, if you're putting out your offer on Facebook, it's trackable. Same with if you're using Google Ads or any other digital platform. But even if you're doing it manually or digitally as in using SMS or email, it's still all very trackable. So I imagine that's a huge attraction point for businesses that use this type of marketing because it plays right into the ability for everything to be tracked so you can see exactly what your ROI is outside of just, hey, our sales went up.
Brian, I would say that to a small to medium-sized business, if you are not being able to measure it, just don't do it. I mean, there will be people from time to time who will say to me, oh, don't you believe in brand building? Of course I do. Yes, I do. I mean, we buy Coca-Cola because it's Coke, and we buy Toyota because it's Toyota, and Netflix because it's Netflix, of course. Brand building is absolutely number one for most businesses. But if you do not sell stuff at the same time as building your brand, then there will be no food on the table. The children will be saying, Daddy, I know you got a lot of likes today on Facebook, but we're hungry. So the vanity metrics where, you sit around the table and tell hungry children, look, Daddy got 200 likes today. They're not going to be much interested in that. They want food on the table. And so I say to smaller to medium-sized businesses, you can't afford to sponsor the Olympics. You can't afford to basically throw money up against branding and not have a measurable return because you are a small business and you need to put food on the table for the family. So in the Greater Building Society's instance, of course, it was a bigger business, but it was not the Wells Fargo. And so therefore, what we proved to them was that you can build your brand at the same time as sell stuff. And what they did was, get a home loan, get a free vacation. That was a direct response offer, but at the same time, their brand grew enormously with that. Obviously, with Jerry Seinfeld, it was pretty easy to build a cheeky persona about it. You can build your brand, but at the same time as selling stuff. And that's what a lot of small, I got to say this to you, Brian, when people say to me, oh, yeah, we're sponsoring the local basketball team, or my child plays in the netball team, so we sponsor them, and we've got the name of our business on the back of their shirts. And I say, look, I've had 6 kids, mine is the Von Trapp family. I've been to a lot of Saturday morning soccer games and so forth. I've never seen any parent on the sideline yelling out, oh, number 4, can you just stop there for a minute? I just want to take down the name of the butcher on the back of your shirt. So you are absolutely kidding yourself if you think stamping your name on the back of their shirt is going to bring you more business quickly. And I'm not saying that, if indeed you are part of that community of parents, that they wouldn't support your butcher shop a little bit more, but that's not going to be the wow that's going to put a lot of money in the bank for you.
Exactly. It's fine to see that. And I think a lot of it plays into business owner ego, which I'm not immune from. I've had it before where you like seeing your face on the billboard, or you like seeing your logo on the TV, or, I don't know, I always pair it up with local car commercials. They're always so cheesy and so corny. And it's always the guy who's owning the store who I'm like, these are purely just so this guy can pat his ego and see his ugly face on TV. And it's not going to make me any more likely to buy a car from him. But here they are spending tens of thousands of dollars every year on these local TV ads.
Yep.
When it doesn't make sense.
No, it doesn't. And the thing is that I had a meeting recently with a guy. I live on the Gold Coast in Australia, which is sort of like the Orlando. It's the theme parks and beaches and all that sort of stuff. And I have a client who is local, and I saw his ugly face on the side of a bus recently, and he is a physiotherapist. And I said to him, "How's that working for you?" He goes, "Oh, so many people have told me they've seen my face on the bus." And I think he's on 2 or 3 buses, right? And I said, "Yeah, okay, what sort of ROI are you getting from that?" "Oh, it's just fantastic. People say they see me all the time." I said, "Yeah, that's fine, but how are you measuring that?" And of course, I won't take it any further because I stirred the daylights out of him, and eventually he realised that that was a pretty silly move. I won't tell you what he paid for it. It was ridiculous. I mean, big ridiculous. It was like thousands upon thousands, and it was his ego. That was what it was. He liked seeing his face on the side of the bus, and because his friends said to him, "Oh, we saw you on the bus," he thought that was working. But when I said to him, "Well, how much more money in the bank was that?" Yeah, none. And even if there was more money in the bank, he couldn't tell you where it came from because there's no. I said, even if on the side of the bus you said, use this QR code. I mean, how you take down a QR code with a bus doing 50 miles an hour, I'm not sure. But anyway,
yeah.
Even if it was, mention this code and I will give you something extra on top of your physiotherapy. But there was no call to action. It was just his ugly face with his logo. That was it.
Yeah, you got to have a purpose with your marketing, with your efforts, or else it's so much of it's going to be all for naught.
Yeah,
just doesn't make sense.
And Brian, how many times have you been doing, 60 miles an hour or 70 or 80 miles, because I know that you drive fast on the freeway, and you see an ad. And now the freeway ads that make sense are McDonald's 3 minutes ahead. That makes sense, okay? Or Denny's 5 minutes ahead. That makes complete sense. But if it happens to be, for argument's sake, vitamin pills, and you're doing a good speed on the freeway, how many times do you see that and go, "Oh, look, I have to pull off the freeway now and get some vitamin pills"?
Yeah, right. It makes no sense. It absolutely makes no sense. Well, and I think, John, this is probably a good place to start putting a bow on this because I'll make sure I respect your time. You were kind enough to join us at the butt crack of dawn out in Australia. So, with direct response marketing, I think it's just something that business owners, and I hope we did this in our episode today, I'm pretty sure we did, where we just expose them to the idea that every piece of advertising that you put out in the world, you've got to have a purpose with it it's got to be ROI driven, right? You said it's got to be trackable. It needs to be ROI driven. It's got to have that offer. It's got to give somebody a reason to get off the fence and come in and dine with you, buy from you, take your service, whatever it is. Are there any closing points on direct response marketing as a whole before we part ways here?
Yeah, look, I won't be too melancholy about this, but I think probably the best thing, you've wrapped it up, Brian, and that is that, before you spend any money on marketing, make sure you have a problem solution mentality. So therefore you are coming up with a solution to somebody's problem. And secondly, do not make an offer unless it has a wow factor attached to it. And the biggest wow factor you can put to any offer is, of course, a free bonus of some sort. I call it an incentive, call it a reward or a bonus, call it what you like, but don't make an offer that's purely on price, because if you do, then one of your competitors can beat you within 5 minutes. But if you say, "Look, buy my product and I'll give you a free vacation voucher for argument's sake, or I'll give you a free dining voucher," whatever it might be, it's not going to be really easy for your competitors to duplicate that in a hurry.
Right.
Can I, before just one last thing, Brian? The thing is that my phrase is be the un of your industry. In other words, be unusual, be unlike your competitors. So the reason I say that, it's an easy thing for people to remember in their heads. Oh, be the un. Yeah, just be unusual, because if you're the same as everyone else, then of course you're going to get the same result.
I like that. That's similar to advice I had from a past mentor of mine who said, don't shoot to be the best in your industry, be the only. I think that's very similar sentiment there. So I love that you shared that. So, John, this is awesome. I think that our listeners, myself included, there's things that we talked about today that I'm like, I've got to go implement this with my people or in my own marketing for my business. I think we've gotten like a whole marketing plan in a box if people listen closely and implement what you've shared with us today. But I want to make sure we round this out. I want to make sure our listeners know how to find you, how to contact you, and how to get more of JD in their life so they can take their business to the next level.
Well, thank you, Brian. And by the way, just the reason Brian does refer to me as JD, because it's John Dwyer, but I get JD. I also get idiot, moron, and quite a few other derogatory names. They come from my buddies mainly. Yeah, okay. Brien, because I live to give, then I'm going to provide an opportunity here for whoever's watching or listening to this to grab a bundle of these ideas. And if you're watching this on video rather than listening to it, you can see what I'm holding up right now is a book, and it's a very large tabloid-sized book, leather-bound with gold-tipped edges and so forth. And this has all of the winning direct response campaigns that I've been involved with over the last 10 or 15 years, so it's pretty valuable. And we normally sell this for $497. Nothing's ever $500, is it? It always has to end in a 7.
It's always a funky number.
Yes, Russell Brunson told us that. Yeah. And so therefore, this is 298 pages of direct response idea after direct response idea, and offline and online. And it's called the WOW Manifesto, obviously with my business being the name that it is. It's the WOW Manifesto. So therefore, I'd like to give that for free to whoever's watching this today, because it's a bonus. And my auntie, Mother Teresa, told me to live to give. So therefore, this is why I'm doing it. Can I give you a URL that people can go to if they want that? Right?
Yes, absolutely. Please provide it all.
Would have been good then if you just said no, and that would have been a big treat.
No, we're done. We're out.
Okay.
Sorry, just like fresh out of time.
I wanted to give you this, but Brien wouldn't let me. Yes, so if you go to wowmanifesto.com/free. So that's wowmanifesto.com/free. And I'm sure, Brien, you're going to put it in the show notes anyway. And one last thing that I thought you might be interested in is this here. And it will mean nothing if you're listening, but if you're watching, then this is the vacation voucher with the free vacation concept that we have. And this is, something that you might like to consider. We normally sell the vouchers for $97, but because I am on this podcast with Brien, then you will get it for less than half of that. And if you're interested in grabbing the vacation promotion for that special deal, then just go to, and I think I've got it here in front of me, Brien, it is vacationorder.com/uni, uni as in the Millionaire University. So that's vacationorder.com/uni, UNI. And you'll be able to find out how you can do the vacation promotion for your business where you get $1,000 value vouchers for less than $50. That sounds pretty sexy.
Yeah, I love it. John, that's amazing. Thank you so much for providing these free resources for our audience to go to utilize and help grow their businesses, get them off the ground or take them to the next level. I think these are invaluable items and some fantastic ideas that you shared with us today. So thank you again for joining us, JD. It was been an absolute pleasure. It's been fun.
My pleasure. All the best, Brien. See you later.
All right. Big thanks to John Dwyer for joining us and sharing his years and years of knowledge in the direct response marketing, incentive marketing world. I hope it exposed to you, our listeners, that direct response marketing, maybe at least to me, it's akin to thinking outside of the box, creating offers and creating incentives and doing things to bring in new business that other businesses out there just aren't doing. It's something that can differentiate you from your competition and put you at your top of the game, put you at the top of the list of competition just by simply thinking outside the box and doing things that everybody else isn't doing. So I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. I think it was full of golden nuggets. I know I pulled a lot from it. And I want you guys to take this to heart when you're starting your business or if you're currently in business. Think of an offer. Think of something that can set you apart from your competition. None of that 10% garbage, 10% off, none of the stuff that look at what your competition is doing and seek out doing something different. We gave you a handful of ideas today in this episode that you can go and use. I'd love to hear from you if you use any of these in your business. So hit us up at support@millionaireuniversity.com. Let us know if you put any of these in action and how they work for you. And before we sign off today, I have 2 things that I would like to request of you. If you enjoyed this episode, go ahead and hit the share link and send a text message. Send it via text to your friends, your family, business partners, whoever it might be who you think would enjoy this episode as well. And if you haven't already, hit up millionaireuniversity.com/training and pick up your free business training course. This is a great course to run through whether you're a seasoned business veteran or somebody who's just about to start their business journey. It's got all the information that you need to run a fantastic business. All right, folks, that's it for me. Brien Gearin signing off. I cannot wait to see you on the next episode of the Millionaire University podcast. Go out there and keep crushing it, my friends.
Everybody reads online reviews before making a purchase decision. If you own a small business, that's not always comforting. 5% of businesses get more reviews than all the rest combined. That means customers are probably passing you by in favor of a company that has more reviews. People don't buy the best products. They buy the products with the most and best reviews. How do these other businesses do it? They have a secret weapon. A rat. No, not that. A review automation tool. 5 Oak is a rat that makes it simple to get more reviews. We get it. Asking for a review can be awkward. 5 Oak removes the awkwardness. When a customer leaves, they'll get a text asking for a review. It couldn't be easier. With little effort, your customers will be sharing their incredible experience with the world, and you'll be collecting glowing reviews on autopilot. Did we mention that 5 Oak costs half as much as its biggest competitors? We're so confident we'll help your business. If you don't love it, we'll give your money back. Are you ready to take your review game to the next level? Sign up for a free 5 Oak trial account today.
Go to 5oak.com/MU to start your free trial today. That's FIVEOAK.com/MU.